Brian Kelly said one of the things that the coaches and Commissioner Sankey talked about at SEC spring meetings was a Big Ten scheduling agreement that would probably necessitate an expanded playoff and 9 conference games for the SEC. Let's talk about why that's important, what we can draw from this. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk football, we talk college football, we talk sports all the time. So if you're into any of those things, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Would you like to see the SEC have a scheduling agreement with the Big Ten? Because I don't see a downside here. Like, this is according to Ross Dellinger, who is one of many guys on the ground at Destin, where they're having the spring meetings and they're discussing everything from the transfer portal window and how many we should have. I think most people agree we should have just one. It should probably be in the winter. To expanding from 8 conference games in the SEC to 9, to what kind of expanded playoff we're probably going to see in 2026, when I think most of us are on the same page here. We're going to go to 16. It's about how we're going to divvy up those 16 spots, which I think is more interesting. So Kelly said that there are officials, it says officials this week did discuss a regular season scheduling agreement or arrangement with the Big Ten, including adding a 9th SEC game. Would mean that you get 9 SEC games plus a B1G game plus 2 others. So there's always going to be room on the schedule for that FCS cupcake that your SEC program loves to schedule. And I am throwing Oklahoma under the bus there too, just in case you thought I was not. I hate that FBS programs, specifically in the Power 4, schedule FCS opponents. I get it. You think you're doing good, but I don't think you're doing good by handing somebody a check to beat them 69-0, right? I mean, no matter how nice that is, you're just not going to convince me that that's worth my time or theirs or yours. There are other ways to make money. People are going, oh, okay, but in this measure or in this time when we absolutely positively have to start making some money, you're going to take this away from us? No, I said it. You could still do it. I just don't like it. There's lots of things that you can do and do as well that I do not like. That's just one of them. I would like to see everybody have to play FBS opponents all the way through, which probably means that UConn and UMass have 2 of the toughest schedules in the entire country. If everybody wanted to go get to the bottom of this, Kent State's probably going to end up there as well. Just bad news all the way down there at the bottom. But at the top with the SEC, you've had a number of conversations around what's it going to take for the SEC to get to 9 games. I think the rest of us want to see the SEC get to 9 games because we feel that they get an unfair advantage by not having to beat up on each other for an extra week. And that makes their resumes, their schedules, their strength of schedule, their win-loss record look a little bit better than everybody else's. But their counterpoint, which is valid, is when we get to the playoff, what usually happens? We stomp out somebody, right? Last year and the year before were the first time in some time that we can remember there wasn't an SEC school involved in playing for the national championship. Like you had Michigan, Washington 2023, you had Ohio State and Notre Dame in 2024. Before that, I mean, we could even point to Georgia going back-to-back. We could point to 2019 LSU, 2020 Alabama. 2018 Clemson still had to stomp out in Alabama, right? You keep going down the line here and you get back to what it really was about with Ohio State 2014. But I don't think anybody is saying that the SEC is not one of the 2 best conferences in the sport, right? If anything, they're saying, can you take your finger off the scale because we don't like it? That's the thing. As we are going to the straight seeding for 12-team playoff, right, we're also not valuing the conference championships. I think you don't have to value the conference championships as a weighted metric. Like, I get it. But I do like playing for a conference championship. I like trophies. I like winning championships. I don't like splitting championships. As a matter of fact, take the Big 12 last year, for instance. If the Big 12 last year did not have a conference championship, we would have had 4 teams tied for the first place. And come on now. Like, nobody really wants that, because then what probably happens is you end up with a Colorado in the college football playoff instead of an Arizona State or an Iowa State, because people understand that the box office is in Boulder. They also understand that people want to see Colorado play, and they had the Heisman Trophy winner, and they have a prolific passer. It would have been difficult to make a good faith argument that Colorado didn't deserve to be in that game, except to say what Arizona State was able to do the rest of the way, right? I think if you were talking about a popularity contest, which is usually what college football is, it's a pageant contest, and has been until we got to the BCS, and since then has kind of gotten a little bit better. But the 12-team playoff, the 14 playoff is still mostly an invitational until you get to those automatic qualifiers, right? The automatic qualifiers take out of the hands the committee's ability or opinion to seed it, right? We thought, and then we got a Boise State that was in a spot they probably shouldn't have been in. We got an Arizona State that was probably in a spot they shouldn't have been in, hence the straight seeding. I think with the 5+11 model in the 16 team, you're talking about maybe using the conference championships as an automatic qualifier, right? Your highest ranked group of 5 champion, and then your 4 Power 4 conference champions. I don't think we need this. I don't. I think it is a safety measure that people want to put into place just so you don't end up with a crappy field. I don't think we're that asinine, but we've done stupider things before. So if they think that automatic qualifiers for the conference champions are going to work, fine. What you don't want is to overvalue the loser of those conference championships or undervalue them. I have it in my brain right now. Like if Penn State won the conference championship last year against the Big Ten, where would Oregon be seated? It wouldn't be 1, but I don't think it would be any lower than 5. And 5 last year was the catbird seat. I think that's the best place to be in. You get the home game against the worst of the field. And then you get to go and play basically a higher seed that you not really higher than on roster. You could see how perhaps, right, if you are Oregon and you get to host Clemson, and then you get to go play Ohio State again, you feel better about, Arizona State, then Ohio State. You feel better about that, right? As opposed to getting to get to Oregon, or get to the Rose Bowl, play Ohio State, and get beat like you stole something. I'm with everybody else in that Oregon kind of got the shaft last year for being the 1 seed. It kind of sucks. It's kind of ridiculous. But I also understand where many are coming from when they say, look, we want to still have room for a Boise State to get here. I think if you don't root for a team outside the group of 6, you don't care. I really don't. I think that Kansas looks at this and says, cool, all we got to do is win and we're in. Yeah, that's always going to be true. I don't think we need to protect a conference champion. I don't think we need to even protect the loser of the conference championship game. I think that cooler heads should prevail. I also think that a scheduling alliance or agreement with Big Ten schools would also be a net positive for everybody involved, because then you get the one-to-one measure, right? Let's not just say that it's Ohio State playing Georgia. Let's say that it is LSU playing USC again. That was a great game last year. Let's say that it is Auburn playing Iowa. Let's say that it is A&M playing Michigan. These are things that I think we all would benefit from, and they would give us some really good comparisons, right? I'm with this. I think that if they are courageous enough to get this done, that being the Big Ten and the SEC, it's going to be good for all of us. I don't see a bad thing here. I am going to, however, point out that one thing has to go before the other. Probably going to need to get to 16 teams and a playoff that the SEC agrees with before you get to the Big Ten, right? And because the Big Ten and the SEC have been in lockstep, and it's really been the other conferences that have formed up against them, you're still got a little bit of moving and shaking here. I don't think we're actually going to get anything done in as far as the 16-team playoff is concerned until next year, but I like where we're headed. I like that we're having these discussions, and I like that these discussions are getting a little bit, shall we say, heated by, Sankey standards, because that means that friction is happening. Friction is happening. We're actually discussing stuff that matters. When everybody's in agreement, I always kind of pull back and go, really? No, I think everybody needs to throw it in there, say what you got to say, and let's come up with the best solution possible for college football.